Hi, everybody. Welcome to the iSpring Solutions webinar series, where every week we talk about e-learning trends, share iSpring tips and tricks, and cover clients' cases. I'm Paulina Ionina, a community manager at iSpring, and I will be the moderator for today's session. And today we're going to cover a special topic and we will talk about training for sales teams and how you can boost their performance with e-learning. And yes, it is possible. So keep on watching. Okay. As a presenter, I have invited my colleague from Customer Success Department, Alex Green. Hi, Alex. Thanks a lot for tuning in. How are you today?
Definitely, I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing amazing. Thanks for checking. Yeah, I think at this point we are more than ready to begin. So, Alex, let me pass the mic over to you as well as the presenter rights.
Perfect. That would be great. Hello, everyone, once again. Uh, let's not lose time and actually jump to the topic of our today's webinar. I'm going to turn off my webcam and share my screen with you. Just give me a moment. All right, perfect. So, 20 years ago, it was hard to imagine high quality training being created, managed, and taken on the internet. Nowadays, online training is made up of the bulk of all training. But why exactly online training is a must-have for sales reps? I want you to let me know how you deliver training to your sales teams. There are lots of ways one can structure and organize it, so it would be amazing to exchange some ideas in the chat. Don't hesitate to drop your comments right in the chat window. I'm sure that everyone has some ideas and some ways of delivering training at the moment.
And Alex, can you see the responses?
Of course.
Okay. I would like to read them out loud for those who will be watching the recording. So it's live workshops locally by region, guides. Eric says we are mobile. So far, says Daniel, our teams have done mostly live training at conferences and regional meetings. Pete says not currently associated with sales training. I'm a newbie in that arena. Cliff commented some e-learning, mostly live workshops. That's amazing. Thanks everyone for sharing your thoughts.
All right, great. Let's continue with the webinar then. So, as for now, let's quickly go over the basics, and maybe you will find something new in this presentation. And to answer the question why online training is a must-have, I think that we need to take a look at people in sales teams. In my experience, whether they work in the field or a call center, it's always a challenge to get them in a classroom, paying attention for an hour or two when a potential sale is waiting, and it can be impossible if there is no prospect. This is where online training is the key. Why? Well, first of all, e-learning makes learning on the go possible. Frequent business trips and constant calls make it hard to gather everyone in a class. With e-learning, there is no need to do that, since your staff can educate themselves using their mobile devices wherever they are,
Alex,
in the office, at home, on a plane, or in the subway. Second, e-learning provides flexibility. While no one denies the importance of live communication and immediate feedback from an instructor, many of the resources and activities that a sales team usually takes can just as effectively be given online. There's no need to pack learners in classrooms if they can achieve the same results by studying corporate policies or products when it's convenient for them. And also, e-learning enables bite-sized lessons. Strategies such as content chunking or microlearning naturally go along with effective online sales rep training. Short and regular lessons fit into their schedules and keep their attention focused. Plus, they can quickly put the obtained knowledge into practice, and that has always been the best way to retain information. What's more, online training allows you to track your sales team training results in real time to ensure that everyone has learned the necessary content and your training activities are as effective as possible. The truth is, online learning, just like any other tool, isn't a magic wand. Still, according to iSpring's experience in training their own employees, there are at least 5 situations where e-learning shows brilliant results. Use case number 1, onboarding. The bad news is that no single theoretical course, even a very good one, can turn a newbie into a Wolf of Wall Street. To let newly hired sales reps succeed, you'll need to have a holistic view of the process and create an effective onboarding plan. The good news is that onboarding is mostly a standardized process, and e-learning is great for that. Use case number 2 is product training. Imagine you've hired new employees and need to quickly familiarize them with your company's product. One possible solution is assigning this task to buddies among the experienced employees. However, the need to repeat the same information over and over again is not the most effective use of their time. Find time for creating an e-course once, and it will bring benefits for a long time. Use case number 3, standards and best practices. So all sales reps in your team should know the standards and approaches that are applied in your company and be able to use these core tools. For example, if you have a CRM system, create a series of video lessons on how to use it. If you require your employees to submit a weekly report on the work they've done, make electronic instructions on how to create one, so you won't have to explain every time what you expect to get. Another use case is the specifics of the industry. E-learning works great when you need to pass on your expertise on the nuances of sales in your company or the industry your company works in. Sales techniques are based on universal principles, but a salesperson work differs depending on the industry. And the final use case number 5, performance of review. An e-learning portal is of great help when it comes to assessment. It allows you to find out who in your team knows the product inside out and who still can't name the benefits. There are 2 possible options for assessment. First one is the routine mode, when an employee takes a test after a course to consolidate the knowledge and self-test. The second one is certification. It's when the whole department takes the test on the appointed day so that the manager can evaluate the situation in the department. We have a detailed article with examples on each of these points, so if you're interested in learning more, you can read it after the webinar. Um, my colleague Polina will provide you with a pop-up link now. But today, we will talk about communication training. You may have a question. Why is sales communication training so important compared to everything else? Sales communication is the art of exchanging meaningful messages that demonstrate a product's value. When it comes to communication and sales, there is more than meets the eye. At its core, sales communication is all about asking the right questions and listening closely to customers. That way, your employees will be able to better strategize when fine tuning their message, building rapport, and not only closing sales, but fostering brand and customer loyalty. It's one thing to recognize the importance of sales communication training, but yet another to execute it well. There are so many dimensions of communication, including nuances, body language, and reading between the lines. So, before you create a plan for employee training, you'll need to know which skills are the most important to one. I will give you 8 crucial sales communication skills, and they are to know everything about your products, to familiarize yourself with sales standards and best practices, to practice active listening, to understand the nuances of body language, to be authentic, to handle objections with grace, to be comfortable with silence, and, of course, to practice your presentation skills. So, the first one, to know everything about your products. To be taken seriously by your clients, you need to speak with authority. This involves gaining the knowledge to become a confident, convincing, and credible professional. So provide your sales reps with comprehensive information on your products, their functionalities, advantages, values for customers, and so on. The second is to familiarize yourself with sales standards and best practices. The core of this skill is aligning your customers' needs with their pain points to deliver a sales experience that aligns with your brand. Some countless sales theories and models demonstrate what influences a buyer's decision, including the band framework, right set of circumstances, and buying formula theories of selling. Understanding buyer motivation is key to effective sales communication. The third one is to practice active listening. So while most people listen, few of us have mastered active listening. According to Stephen R. Covey, the biggest communication problem is that we do not listen to understand, we listen to reply. And that's where the active in active listening comes in. Active listening involves making eye contact, nodding to let customers know you're with them, and repeating things back with follow-up questions to ensure you're on the same page. To understand the nuances of body language. So, knowing the nuances of nonverbal language is critical to effective sales communication. It will help you send out the right signals and get a good read on what the customer is feeling at that moment. That way, rather than missing out on key cues by trying to prepare your next response, you'll be able to anticipate where the conversation is headed and adjust smoothly. Be authentic. Nothing is more grounding than an authentic person who makes you feel comfortable in your skin. As such, authentic salespeople enable customers to drop their guard and communicate more freely. This, in turn, empowers salespeople to target a customer's precise problem and solve it with a sale. But authenticity is tricky, since by nature it can't be faked. You'll need to forget you're on the sales floor to some degree and approach customers without having an obvious angle. Handle objections with grace. Communication in sales contexts involves the delicate balancing act of moving toward the result you intend without overstepping boundaries. In other words, it involves convincing without coercing. Handling objections is difficult, but few things are more off-putting than a salesperson who invades your space, who can't pick up on a clue, or won't take no for an answer. When you pester or curse someone, you are hammering the same points over and over. The trick is to understand why the customer isn't biting and steer the conversation in a more fruitful direction. Be comfortable with silence. For many, silence can be unsettling. As such, we feel to fill silences with idle chatter or questions. But in sales communication, this works against you. Embracing silence gives your customer the chance to think their responses through, and it gives you time to think and or anticipate what those responses might be to react appropriately. In essence, effective sales communication involves being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Practice your presentation skills. Effective sales communication also entails practicing your presentation skills. Simple public speaking devices like pause and punch come to mind here, in which salespeople leverage the timing of pauses to enhance suspense, curiosity, and thus interest. But presenting products isn't all about you and your sales team. It's about finding your unique style of being authentic and engaging, all while speaking confidently. Now that we've covered the most crucial sales and communication skills that your employees need to acquire, it's time to put it all into practice. Traditional sales training takes place in face to face contexts or on site workshops. But now the way of the day is online training. Not only is it far more effective and engaging, but you minimize overhead costs and disruptions to regular business operations. If you've never created an online course before, you might imagine some insurmountable learning curve, but most of it can be eliminated with the right software. I'm going to break this process down for you in 4 simple steps. First, you would need to conduct a training needs analysis, then research and create an outline, continue with creating content, and finally, building your course. So the first step is to conduct a training needs analysis. While conducting your training needs analysis, it's important to develop a strategy that clearly outlines your learning goals, what you want to teach, and learning objectives, meaning what skills employees should achieve. SWOT is a key acronym that you'll need to know here. It is necessary when gauging with knowledge and skills gaps your sales team has. So, SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And while SWOT analysis looks great on paper, it's extremely useless without properly aligning it with your training needs. The key is to focus on your weaknesses and strengths. One of the best ways to put SWOT into practice is by creating a skills matrix to assess the skills specific to your sales team, as exemplified on the slide. A skills matrix or competency matrix is a tool to map required and desired skills for a team, project, or department. It is a grid that visualizes the required and available skills and competencies in a team. The second step is to research and create an outline. You can't find a solution to an unknown problem. So now that you've clarified which areas need improvement, you can research with purpose and direction. That way, the content that results from it will be focused, relevant, and highly applicable. But research is a bit trickier when it comes to communication and sales. In this case, your greatest resource will be your sales team and customers. In other words, now is a great time to conduct surveys with thoughtful questions that not only measure and assess the way your team handles certain situation in the sales process, but also their performance in the eyes of customers. I will name you a couple of simple, thoughtful, open-ended questions that you can distribute internally to your team, but these barely scratch the surface. Try thinking of more questions on your own after the webinar, or if you have an idea now, you can write it in the chat. So my example questions are, what is your biggest obstacle to converting customers or closing sales? What are the most common types of questions that customers ask? What questions do you commonly ask customers to ascertain their needs? At what point would you stop pursuing a sales with a customer? What are some difficult situations with customers that you turned into a sale? What aspects of sales communication come, comes easiest to you? And what comes hardest? Describe a scenario where you lost a sale from an interesting prospect. What do you think went wrong? So once you've researched everything you need to address your learning goals and objectives, you then have all the pieces of the puzzle you need to turn into an outline or a curriculum. What questions would you ask? Maybe you are doing this already. Share it with others and let's make this webinar even more productive. So step number 3 to keep going is to create content. I believe that for effective learning, your content should provide sales personnel with 3 types of opportunities. The first is the opportunity to learn about tried and tested sales theories and models. That way, your sales team can leverage knowledge about what motivates buyers and work their sales communication along these lines. Second is the opportunity to test how well your sales team retain the information. This involves creating assessments. And third, the opportunity to practice sales communications and thus make mistakes in a safe to fail setting. Therefore, you'll need to script some role play scenarios that exemplify how best to deal with certain customer. There are a few types of role play scenarios that are super helpful for sales communication training, including the on the fence customer. There are always going to be customers who are hesitant or have any objections to hurdle over before you can close the sale. This is where your employees are going to have to practice their powers of persuasion. These customers are highly convertible when you ask the right questions. But remember, persist, but don't be a pest. Let them climb down from the fence instead of pushing them off. The dissatisfied or cranky customer. This sales communication scenario is classic, yet one of the hardest to master. When you do master it, you can spot cranky customers from a mile away and predetermine how best to disarm them. This scenario also enables employees to flex their active listening skills. The know-it-all customer. This type of scenario isn't necessarily negative. It also includes detail-oriented, tech-savvy, and professional-level customers. So the key sales communication skill here is simply knowing your stuff and being authentic. Let's say a passionate gamer came in looking for an ergonomic gaming chair. If you know your stuff, then it's easy to build rapport and close a sale. But even if you are not a gamer, taking an interest in their needs and asking personal questions about their hobby goes a long way. the frugal customer. These customers are hard to combat, but salespeople often turn these customers around using the right sales communication tactics. Here, the tone of voice is everything. Sometimes they're indignant at the price, but other times their tone is more of a question. That is, they're inviting you to justify the cost. So many key sales communication tactics are at play in these scenarios, including speaking with authority, building trust, and practicing active listening. Of course, this list is generic and goes for most sales contexts. Your business is bound to have its own unique yet typical scenarios. So the fourth step, probably one of the most important, and the final one is to build your course. And now that you know what your course should include, look at your outline and note down in your computer or in a physical notebook, whatever you like, which lessons, topics, or modules are ideal for the core informational part of the course, where assessments should be added, and for which modules you need to create role play scenarios. Once you have a course structure, it's time to prepare content for your course. Write a script and find all the necessary media. Now that you have all the content for your course, you need to put it together with an authoring tool. The e-learning market offers numerous tools to help you build slides and create assessments and quizzes. But we've already discussed how important it is to use role plays for sales training as well. And only a few authoring solutions can create them, such as iSpring Suite. So the first step of creating your own course will be to install an authoring tool. There are in fact many such tools on the market, different in the type of output content, approach to the course creation, and the level of complexity. Some tools may require several months to master, but some apps can be easily leveraged even if you are not a tech geek. I've created the course with iSpring Suite Max. This is an easy to use authoring tool that allows you to build courses right in PowerPoint and then turn them into an e-learning format. You can download it for free to assemble your first course. We'll share a data security course with you after the webinar. So first, let's download the free iSpring Suite trial and launch the program. It will appear as an additional tab on the PowerPoint ribbon. Second, add all your content to the slides. Let's start with the core of the course, the theoretical part. Copy and paste all your texts on the slides and add images and videos. Building a course with iSpring is as simple as it was when you created PowerPoint presentations in school. Once you've built the foundational part of the course, you might want to check how well your employees absorb the information. This is where online quizzes come into play. So, to create the assessments, click Quiz near the top left of the iSpring ribbon to open. The tool gives you 14 different quiz types. For maximum creative freedom, choose the question templates you consider most appropriate for your quiz and populate them with texts and media. The fourth step is to build a role play. So then you can circle back to your course outline and begin building your role play scenarios with iSpring's dialogue simulation tool. These simulations leverage branching scenarios to yield unique responses based on the trainee input. We have a webinar dedicated to how to build a dialogue simulation. And at this webinar, we are talking about what the dialogue simulation is and how we can use it in the e-learning process, then about the necessity of creating a dialogue tree that will work as a draft for your future simulation, about building a dialogue simulation from scratch with the iSpring Talkmaster tool, and possible ways of using dialogues as skills training and knowledge checks. Once you are done, publish the course to your platform of choice. We recommend a learning management system, an LMS. Not only will it automatically grade your assessments, but the LMS can provide invaluable insight as to how your sales team is engaging with the content. For example, it can be iSpring Learn LMS, and it includes a learning portal, a tool for creating courses and quizzes, then integration with a webinar platform, an analytics system, and a mobile app for learners. So that was all steps for creating communication skills training for sales reps. Before the Q&A starts, I want to say that the importance of effective sales communication training cannot be overstated. From reading body language to demonstrating authenticity, this singular skill can make or break any business. Your company shouldn't have to shell out thousands of dollars to third-party developers, nor does it need to disrupt ongoing operations with on-site training. The right tools will have you up to speed in no time. All right. So, Polina, I believe that now we should start the Q&A. What do you think?
Hmm. Yeah, sure. And also, we had a comment that I wanted to address to you, Alex, from Cliff. Maybe you can advise something.
Sure.
Our our customers want to know how our products are different from our competitors' products, how our products will save them money, and how we will support them. How would you recommend to put together a training
It's
of this
I
kind?
would honestly, I would definitely recommend Cliff building an asynchronous e-course. After all, the information is going to be more or less the same, and you should definitely deliver it to all your sales reps. It can be part of an onboarding course because, of course, all the sales reps have to know this. And to make sure that they retain this knowledge, you can build a dialogue simulation at the end, add a quiz, or something like a monthly test, just to make sure that everyone is aware of these key points of the value of your product and how it's different from your competitors.
And let's move on to the next sort of comment from Pete.
Mhm.
One of the problems that I have run into is that the courses I have been involved with involve seniors, either as volunteers or recipients of volunteer services. The iSpring characters are all young folks. Let's face it, at my age, nearly everyone qualifies as young folk. However, it would sure be nice if there were elderly characters in the iSpring stable.
Of course, no, Pete, I totally understand your point, and that's something that I'll take to our development team later on. Um, our content library is constantly increasing. So at the moment, we have slightly over 68,000 images, but we keep adding. And any feedback, if you have any other ideas or anyone else can provide us with some more ideas on what we can add, that is absolutely valuable to us.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Could not agree more. And there's a question from Gail. How does a content creator include supporting materials for a sales course, such as PDFs, documentations, and website links?
Gail, there are several ways actually, and it really depends on how you prefer to structure your training, how you prefer to deliver your course. So, one way to do this is using iSpring Suite authoring tool because you can add resources. First of all, that's the place that a little button that shows up right on the top of your course, and it just says resources. You can add website links or PDFs, Word documents, and so on to your course, and the learners will be able to download it as well. Otherwise, in terms of the website links, we also have a web object feature. So, for example, just for the sake of an example, let's say you have a Wikipedia page or article that you want to embed into your course. You can click onto the web object feature, insert the link, and decide if it will play as part of the course right on the slide, or if it's going to show up in the new tab of the browser of the learner. Another option is if you have iSpring Learn LMS, you can also build a knowledge base. Knowledge base can include, again, PDFs, PowerPoint presentations, Word documentation, all in a particular tab. You can make it look nice and neat with different folders, and learners, again, will be able to download it on their computers.
Thanks, Alex. Also, Gail is asking, should all modules or content topics follow a very similar theme style look to tie it all together when you say synchronous?
Um, right, so if we
I
are talking about asynchronous training, so e-learning courses that you post on your LMS, then I would suggest that a certain topic should have more or less the same style for two simple reasons. One, it's simply more pleasing to the eye, and second, it really helps the learner to memorize and associate a certain piece of information with a certain topic. Yet, if you are starting to talk about another course, let's say you have one on sales training, another one on fire safety. Now, these should have a completely different theme. That would let the learners really divide all the information and split it and not mix it up.
Yeah, there is a question. Let's cover this one and probably um, we will wrap up the session.
Mhm.
What is the approximate learning curve for conquering iSpring? Is PowerPoint a prerequisite?
Right. So iSpring Suite is specifically designed for desktop PowerPoint on Windows. It is a PowerPoint add-in, so it's going to show up as another tab in your regular PowerPoint. This way, you can use your existing PowerPoint presentations and simply enhance them, add quizzes, add interactions, structure the playback without really having to spend lots of time learning how to work within it. The user interface is pretty similar to regular PowerPoint. And after all, we have a great support team and lots of tutorial videos that will help you get started in no time.
Thank you so much. All right, I think we can finish our webinar session for today. Hope that everyone has a wonderful day. Thank you so much, everyone, and see you at the next webinar. Bye, everybody, and bye, Alex.
Goodbye. Have a great day, everyone.